Let's go now to Phoenix, and we will hook up with Joshua Ault, Arizona State University's Thunderbird School of Global Management. We are looking businesses at a national and global level. I'd like to focus, though, on the most fragile of all, and I expect that to be those mom and pop businesses who are thinking, look, if this goes on for 2 weeks, I'm going to have to lay off workers or shut my doors.
Yeah, first of all, thank you. It's really good to be here. I think that you're absolutely right that, one thing that we have been teaching to our students, for years and years now is that no matter how local you are as a company, even if you just plan to operate in a local environment, just in the Phoenix market or the San Francisco market, we've gotten to a stage where, your supply chains could be spread out all over the world and are going to be impacted by this. And so this is something that we are actually working with our students is to develop this, transnational mindset where they are paying attention not only to just what's going on in their local markets, but also what's going on in the global markets that could impact the local markets.
So then what's your best advice for businesses who are facing uncertainty?
I think it just has to be reiterated that, it is not the time to panic. I think a big part of the issue right now in the business environment is that there's just so much uncertainty out there, and markets really struggle when there is uncertainty. They're not entirely sure how to deal with the situation. And so we're going to see a lot of these fluctuations going up and down, 5-10 points one day in the stock market, down 5 or 10 points the next day in the stock market. And so I think that what we need to do is, as small business owners, as investors, as everybody involved, is you have to take a step back and try to take your emotions out of it and just move forward according to your long-term plans, because eventually this is going to go away and we will get back to business as normal.
It was less than 2 hours ago, Joshua, that the World Health Organization said that it was now referring to the coronavirus outbreak as a pandemic. You don't hear that word too often, and to a lot of us, it's scary. We've also talked to doctors in the course of this live stream who say you shouldn't be more worried than you were yesterday because it now has a new name. From a business perspective, however, does that word pandemic make a difficult situation even worse?
I think that an issue that we have is that we're all human beings. We're all psychological beings. And a lot of times we hear these words and it's very hard to operate rationally. A lot of times we see what other people are doing, we see what other businesses are doing, and we're not entirely sure what the appropriate course of action is ourselves. And so we end up rushing out and just trying to copy what everybody else is doing. And I think that this explains to some degree, the hoarding mentality, everybody running and buying toilet paper at Costco and all of these, kinds of activities. So again, I think just the point is that, as this news is coming out, you need to do everything that you can to take your and I know that it's hard, but doing everything that you can to take your emotions out of it and really looking at this from the perspective of your long-term goals.
Is there anything that can be learned and borrowed and used when it comes to recovery? If we look as far back as September 11th, I remember there was a massive push that seemed to start in New York City, but then certainly went nationwide that said, look, go out to dinner, buy that new outfit, go see that show, take in that concert, essentially spend your money. We saw that after September 11th. We saw it after the massive wildfires in California, up in the wine country, promoting local tourism, trying to get new faces through doors. Can any of those lessons apply here?
Absolutely. I think that there are a number of lessons that can be brought up because of this particular case. I teach globalization, and I think you hit the nail right on the head when you mentioned that a lot of this seems to have started with 9/11, because that's really when we saw a shift in the business environment. Before that time, there was this euphoria about globalization. There was this idea that products and services could fly all over the world, from where they can be produced the cheapest to where they can be produced, where they are needed the most. And then 9/11 kind of put a change in that. And I think that a lot of these events that we're seeing, after 9/11, the Wall Street collapse in 2008, the migrant crisis in Europe, a lot of these things are causing people to wonder, is the cost of globalization really higher than the benefit? And I think that as far as this goes, I think that the virus is another step because it raises these important questions about our security, and does globalization make us fragile, too fragile as an economy and as a society? So I think that, kind of a two-part answer to your question, I think that this is going to push organizations, companies to think very carefully about their supply chains. It's another step in that process. I think for those of us, to answer your question more specifically, I think for those of us that are watching this happen, I think that you're exactly right. I think that it's all about trusting our business leaders, trusting our political leaders, trusting our economic leaders, and continuing with life as we know it, kind of like during World War II, be calm and carry on.
Right. My friends will tell you I'm the cheapest mom on the block, but yesterday our washing machine went out, and so we had to call the repair guy. And I actually felt good about paying him $375 to fix the thing, because I thought, you know what? He could use it. I need the washing machine. Let's do this. All right, Joshua Ault, thank you so much for joining us. When you're out in the Bay Area, come and let's go out to dinner together. Let's switch things now and take you across the country here, and let's focus on what's happening in Georgia, specifically Atlanta.